All right. Hey guys, welcome back to Jerry's Live to the set. We're here and we're practicing social distancing. So, as always, I'm your host, Amy Gardner Dean. Today is JL 151. If you haven't been playing along at home with us while we've been kind of away, we've still been doing live. It's just been kind of down and dirty with a cell phone and focus issues. So we decided that three of us were willing to come in here to the studio to do this. This way, we should have Frida and Amanda on our remote platforms for YouTube and Facebook moderating. So say hello to the girls there. But we're here and we are back for regular Tuesday lives. So today, the keyword for the show is JL 151 because we're 151 episodes in. I know, right, Katie? It's just like, and it was so sad last week where it was like 150 and nobody around. So I know, right? So we're going to be doing just a fun acrylic painting. A lot of people always ask me how, I've always been interested in acrylics. I don't know how to get started with that. This set with the components that we're going to be using, a couple extra brushes and just a bottle of an acrylic polymer gloss medium and varnish. $65 with tax and free shipping out the door. So it's a great all-inclusive set that has just the bare bones of what you would need to get started in acrylic. So if you're interested in any of those components, you go to the jerrysartaround.com website. You'll type in that keyword JL151. That will take you to the set so you can kind of get a better look at it. So real quick, we'll go over what's in the set just so you know what we'll be using. It has this adorable little box, little easel. I've already put it together just to save time. It's this set right here. So it's an easel box. It's got some wing nuts to kind of adjust the height how you want it. It actually comes with 3 little painting panels. They're not a canvas panel, but they've got some texture, and it reminds me of the Sintra boards, Katie. For its durable feeling. So there's 3. I've got an artwork drawn on one, so we'd be ready to go. It has a small palette that's typically like a traditional watercolor palette, but it'll work with acrylics because they'll peel right out once they're dry. Palette knife. It actually has 3 brushes that are hog bristle brushes on their own. Nice chunking hog bristle brushes. I put a couple of synthetics from the Try Me set of the Pro Stroke Power Curl brushes, just to give you an extra filbert and a pointed round that's fine tipped, and then a larger filbert for covering more area. That just gives you kind of basic brush sizes to be able to execute a painting without either having a two hairbrush trying to paint an entire painting or something that's too big where you can't get decent detail. Now the colors on the kit, it comes with 12 colors, and they are I think they're probably a 20 mil tube is what the size looks like. We actually, if you tuned into our art at home on the Thursday, a couple Thursdays ago, we did smush art, right, Katie? Mm-hmm. We actually used a lot of paint for smush art, and this was the only set that I had at home of LUKAS paint. So we actually used this set already for smush art, and there's still a ton of paint left. Made one on Yupo that, remember the one that I didn't want to, I said it would need to be cut out, and then I would be fine with it. I love it cut out. And it's just Yupo. That's a lot of paint, a lot of color, nice and bright. And then this was the big one on the watercolor paper. And since then I've seen something on it, so I want to go over it with an acrylic marker later and trace it out. Looks like a mad scientist and some weird little person they've created, and I wasn't drinking when I saw that. I just saw it. So all of this was done with that set, and then we still have plenty of paint to spare. So that's an awesome amount of paint for just a little starter set. So that's what we're going to be using today. I just looked for the kind of lowest cost acrylic medium and varnish. there's two different types of acrylic varnish, okay? One is a permanent one, which what that means is you cannot remove it. Typically, it's one that can also work as a medium too. So a gloss medium is thinner than your paint. It's going to help extend your paint to thin it down rather than adding a whole bunch of water where it makes the kind of molecular bonds of your acrylic break up too much so that it doesn't provide a good adhesion to the support when you need to thin the paint. This helps extend it with just a more fluid acrylic, okay? Then once your painting is all done, you can go back in with this, do probably 3 very thin coats of this as a varnish that can't be removed, but at least it gives your work some protection because acrylic is soft by nature. So you always want to put a varnish on the top of it to protect it from just abrasion and dust and dirt and things like that. Okay, so for starting out, it's the perfect thing because it's a 2-for-1, right? Two purposes for one in a nice low price point. So that's what we're using is the Gloss Creative Inspirations Acrylic Medium and Varnish. All right. So in kind of deciding what are we going to do today for something fun, I said we're going to have fun. One of the things we did at the stay-at-home when we were doing art was we did that little soft pastel thing. Remember, guys, where we had the pear. I don't know if you want to show this on overhead because I'll show the two that we had. So we had the pear, and we did the soft pastel pear with the kit, right? And everybody played along, and it was really awesome because everybody played along.
I love that.
We had a really great time. That made me happy. So in doing that, I said, okay, so we're going to take that same color drawing, and how do you translate a color drawing to black and white? So on one of our art at home days, we did the chiaroscuro of the pear and worked on how do you could take just that white and that black from that set, continue to use them on, but make it seem more like kind of that traditional drawing. So I was like, okay, so we've done the pear in pastel, and then we've done it in charcoal, right? What if we do a pop art pear? We're using this same subject that we've had, but we take it and just do something kind of fun and wild and funky with it. I don't know if it was the smush art, Katie.
It got to you?
Well, it just, made me start thinking about ways that you could take the same subject and do different fun things. So I actually doodled with I'm a huge fan of thumbnails. Doodled with it to how, do I want to make it look more like pear kind of with Mondrian? Do I want to make it look like bubbles? Do I want it vertical? Do I want it horizontal? How do I want to do those shapes of the pear for the paint? Because pop art's kind of a little bit more, almost like it's not illustrated, not an illustrated novel. What do you call it when it's a novel that's like a cartoon?
Graphic novel?
Graphic novel! Katie wins the prize. Like a graphic novel. So I messed around a little bit with how I would take the contours of that pear to make it look like that. So this is the one that we're going to be doing today. Got it all worked out, and I went ahead and outlined it just so it'd be easier for you guys to see at home. You are welcome to play with whatever medium you have at home. We are not, go acrylic or go home. We are equal opportunity to have fun because I said it's going to be fun today.
I think everybody needs a little fun right now.
We do. We need some fun. This has been weird coming back in, and it's awesome too. But just so let's ease into this and have some fun. So one of the 3 boards, I've already got that ready. Let me get our little paint out and get this set up. I don't think we need the palette knife since we've got the little thing. And never fear, it's got directions with the set for how to set it up for people that might be interested in purchasing it. Let me tighten these wing nuts so we don't lose anything. And lefty loosey, righty tighty, Amy. This is the first time I've felt fresh air. We were wearing masks here, and of course we have to take it off the film. But now it's like,
well, too much oxygen.
Yeah, it's strange. It makes you almost a little like you go from oxygen depleted to kind of.
Woohoo!
I know, right? How does this angle look, Katie? Do we need to tilt it back a little, or is that pretty good? Right there. That's pretty good. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. The lighting is actually pretty good on it. So, all right. So for pop art, we're using kind of bright eye-catching colors. We may not get to the point with our pear here where we're going to actually, you know, I wonder if it would be good to put the pear like here on an easel. Move this over and put the pear on an easel. I think it would. Or on an easel over here. Let's do that. Because if they want to play along at home, it's easier with something. Oh, Katie's getting us an easel. So I will start getting the paint out. All right. So the colors, people always ask what the colors are that we're using. So we've got a Viridian, which is a phthalo base. Thank you. I think that will work perfectly. Perfect. Thank you, Katie.
Pop that leg back a little bit. So just because it's going to go flat.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, my.
Is that no change in that one?
Okay. Oop. It just wants to do it anyway. There we go. All right. All right. Phthalo Viridian. We've got obviously titanium white. Put that over here. We've got an iron oxide black. And I'm already wearing it. How does that happen? Burnt umber. And a burnt sienna. I think I'm going to not use the umber. I'm going to use some burnt sienna. Just because I think that might be good for one of the pear colors to mix. You know what? I'm going to need some umber for the stem. So I'm going to put those side by side because I'm just going to use my brush and kind of reach in and grab them. So as long as they're not mixed together. For most people, that's a no-no, but for some reason, that's how I operate. I don't mind my colors touching, Katie. It does not affect me. Yeah, weird. Isn't it just not food? All right, a primary red magenta, a cadmium red deep hue. We've got 3 yellows, yellow ochre, a cadmium yellow hue, a lemon primary, and I think with the yellow ochre too, I'm just gonna, I don't know if we need ochre. Let's not do ochre. I'm gonna be brighter. Cyan, which is just a primary blue, which is probably phthalo based. Yep. Phthalo with white. And a very nice ultramarine. Okay. Now, if you're just joining us, we're going to have fun. It's fun with acrylics. All right, so we've got the pear here. I guess we could do the stem first. What do you think? Since it's a little one right there. And this is like right in between me needing reading glasses and not. So not sure how this is going to work. Okay, so we are going to do the stem in the burnt umber. And you can just do this as a line drawing, kind of however you want. You don't even really have to put a drawing down at all if you want. You can just go back and do your outlines around it. We're just doing blocks of color, which is great because that kind of, your mixing is done before you're actually applying it. And this is right where I absolutely need reading glasses. So this is getting old. I know, right? Oh, look at that. That's much clearer. All right. So these areas are going to be white. So I'll do those. I think I'll just go ahead and do those first so they're easier to kind of I'm using this as a round number 1. It's the Pro Stroke. It's the only round that we had. That's why I added that on, because you really do need to have a round of some sort for some detail work. It's okay if you go a little over the line, because you're going to be going back and actually outlining this with kind of a heavier, thicker black coat with this round. So it's okay if it goes over a little, because you can kind of cover up that little bit of flux. And if we have questions, go ahead and just hit me whenever, because we're just kind of...
I may have missed it before. What did you use to draw on the pear and the shapes?
I used, because I wanted it to be something that was archival, I used just one of the Acrylic pens that we have made, because it's nice and black and easy to see.
And waterproof.
And this board has kind of an interesting texture. It's almost a little fabricy. So I didn't know if something else would spread too much. Yes, the waterproof was the thing. And pencil, a lot of people use pencil, and that's fine. But unless you're going to put a very light coat of some fixative down, sometimes pencils can drift, especially if it's not like an F or an H pencil. There's a little too much graphite in it. I've seen people not thinking and not looking grab like a 7B and do their drawing, and then it's so soft and just sits on there. It's so velvety that it lifts and moves, right, with the paint. So, and with light colors, especially that are transparent, you can actually see the little bits in there. This is white as well, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that. It's a little white reflection on the...
Another question.
Yes.
Can you go back over what's included in the kit?
Okay, so the kit comes with the box of the LUKAS equipment. It's got 12 colors, 20 milliliter colors, which are... I think they can go back if they want to see what it is. Actually, on the website, there will be a tuck box for the set, and you can just click on that, and it'll say what colors come in it. They've got 3 of the chunking hog bristle brushes. It's got 3 of these little panels, like what we're using. Obviously, they don't come with the drawing on it. Palette knife, very nice wood-handled steel palette knife. The easel box, where you can pull the little kind of ledge out and put in there. This little kind of plastic easel, and there's a little bit of green there, I know, in the lemon. That was when we did the smush art and I put the wrong cap back on, so that was me. It's not the paint. And then I put in 3 extra brushes. 2 are the Pro Stroke synthetics, the Power Acryls, and 1 is a Soho, just a synthetic filbert that's a golden Taklon. And the Creative Inspirations Acrylic Medium Polymer Gloss, which is a medium and a varnish. Okay, so if we need to thin this down at all, we can use that.
That was the next question. When do you add the varnish medium?
You could use that at any time. This is thin enough with this board and how it paints on that I don't know if I'll have to add it. Because with pop art, you're not really thinning it, right? I more thought of it for just the varnish, or at the time I wasn't sure. I mean, because we do these episodes, you know, plan them so well in advance that I don't always necessarily know what the subject matter is going to be that we're doing. It's just good to have a varnish, and it's good to have a medium rather than adding a bunch of water to your paint. So that was more what the thought was, that you can always use it as the final varnish, or if you need to thin it. Because everybody likes to add water to acrylic, and I'm going to tell you, I've been there too. But you will have adhesion problems, especially with your lower levels of your painting, your first levels. You always want to thin it with a medium. Even if it's just like an airbrush medium, you never want it to be just the straight water where you're making it washy, because that could have devastating consequences later. Because we all know that if you can take an acrylic palette, which is plastic, and you can peel the acrylic off, and you're working on acrylic gesso, right? And it's on there nice and slick, like a lot of canvases are that are designed for acrylic painting, and you're thinning it way down with water, what can happen later? You can catch layers where you've painted real heavy, but it's on something that's not very stable, right? And that will peel. Not a good thing.
Nope.
Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, so doing a little bit of black at the end because there's a little tiny tip of black on this, which it doesn't have to be the exact colors. I'm just more picking colors that make this look kind of pop arty, right? All right, so our pear is many colors. So I think we're gonna go with, I really like this yellow here. What do you think? Background first, then the pear? What do you think? How about this? You can tell them to pick a background color. I've got that really nice primary blue, which is this really pretty, kind of similar. This is more aqua-y, but it's this really nice kind of primary blue. It's almost like a cerulean, or this really the pretty deep ultramarine blue. So have them talk amongst themselves. We could even do maybe the light color and then that ultramarine for our shadow coming over here.
Pretty.
Yeah. So, and then the bubbles are going to be different colors.
Ooh.
Yeah, because we need some color.
Fun.
Pop art. Get the pop art. I will start working on the pear while people talk amongst themselves and decide. And I think I'm going to just use this. I wasn't sure how yellow I want to make this, but let's go yellow. Let's be bold. So the biggest thing I think, Katie, that where people are like, want to try a new medium, but they're kind of scared. And the reason I picked pop art is this is something that as long as you've got some kind of decent enough basic drawing skills, this is pretty, it's not a confrontational subject, right? It's not like, oh my God, this isn't going to look right. And I've got to do all this layering and there's glazing and there's, you know, this and that, and how am I going to know this? It's very basic. It's a great way to just, when you're starting with a new medium, you know, we talk about color swatching all the time on the show, but what we don't talk about is just practicing brush strokes, practicing, you know, how the medium is different than the medium you're already used to. So something like pop art is the perfect way to do it because you're just getting used to the handling qualities of the paint, right? The paint as it comes out of the tube. You can thin it obviously with the medium should you choose, but it's a really good way to see is this brand that I've picked super thick? Is this brand super thin? How much, you know, water or medium do I have to add to make it more brushable? If I want to make it thicker, you know, is it super thick right out of the tube? Which these are a nice kind of they're not a heavy body, but they're not a true soft body either. They're kind of a nice in between. So for somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience with thicker body paint, like especially if you're coming from watercolors, it's kind of a nice way to get into a heavier textured paint without having to do it, if that makes sense. It's just a nice handling brand of paint. I'm going to switch to the more detailed brush because I've kind of painted the larger areas and then I'm down to that brush is not going to get in some of these little areas easily. And just tell me if I start leaning over the, I'm trying not to lean over the camera. But because this is at an angle, it's a little bit harder to.
No, you're good. You've got plenty of room.
Okay, good. Yes, strangely, it's a little easier sitting at home, doing it. I feel like Will should have prepared a song or something since it was the 100th was last week and that there should have been some sort of fanfare. I feel like Will fell down on the job on this. What do you think, Katie?
dance thing.
Oh, I see. I think interpretive dance would have been lovely.
We do have some questions about what you mean when you say pop art.
Okay, so pop art is like if you know Andy Warhol and Robert Lichtenstein and different people that where it's you go in the museum, it's these great big pieces, there's lots of color, it's everyday household items, or like with Lichtenstein, it was things like it was taking everyday situations but making them look like giant comic books, right? Andy Warhol and the soup cans, or the Marilyn Monroe heads where it's multiple colors. It's taking something that's as a topic and almost commercializing it, right? It's a statement on society. So this is a pear, but we're making it seem like very graphic and very much more design elements than kind of that natural figurative element that kind of, when people think artists, they always think that everything should look like everything. That's not always what real art is. Art can be your interpretation of a subject, and you can take the most benign subject and actually make a statement with it. And that's really kind of what the pop art movement came out of kind of that 60s and 70s, very commercialized kind of world where things really got. Don't you think that was when that was when it really switched from things where illustrations or very basic to lots of color TV, and color was in your face, and there were ads, and it was all very like you know, madman kind of thing, very demanding. So that's what kind of that pop art movement was, of taking kind of those concepts of life and things and animating them in kind of that way to make them kind of trivial and commercialized, if that makes any sense. So it's a movement. We're using it as a style, but it was in really more of a movement, I guess it would be the kind of way to describe that. Don't you think, Katie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So.
All right, so I just realized we've got all the yellow. Okay, and we've already got our white on there. And then we're going to, I'm going to make an orange for part of this with a little bit of green. I'll take some of that yellow. This is mixing on the fly. I use palette knives on the show. or if I need to do a big splotch of color, I really don't like using palette knives in general. Ooh, that's kind of a nice color.
We also have a couple people asking about the board, if you primed it or if it came primed.
The board comes where it looks like it's been probably, I'm guessing, spray primed, and then it really looks like a piece of illustration board that then has like a little bit of, maybe it's even a painted on texture. But it's definitely got kind of a very slight canvas texture. It looks like it's gone this way and this way, so it gives a little bit of texture, but it's definitely taking it like a primed surface. So let's knock this down with a little bit of burnt sienna. So it was already all ready to go. So I mean, that's how awesome is that you don't have to, with this, like buy any panels or anything. It's got enough stuff to do 3 small paintings. That's with a little box that's portable. Okay. So see, this is almost made, we've made almost like an Indian yellow color, really. And you can tell that that yellow is more transparent, so we may need to go over that or kind of carefully brush down. I'm not, transparent paint is great, and especially for mixing colors. Where it's not great is when you're trying to get kind of an overall evenness of color with something like this. So I will typically go over it a few times so that you don't see the brush marks, because that bothers me when you do. It's just my weirdo pet peeve. And normally, if this was where I was doing this, because of the angle we have to work at for this, I'm way choking up on this brush. If this was something where it was I was doing the regular work, I would be much further back. So don't take this as this is how you use your brush, because it's not. This is just really hard with this, like, I'm having to stand like at a crooked angle and like twist to be able to see this so that we can have it on the camera. So I'm holding it like I'd be holding like a watercolor brush or something like that to give it a little bit more control. I'm saying that because we've had a couple shows on brushes, and I just want to make sure that we don't have any confusion on. Okay, so I'm just kind of going back over it. Because this is painted thinly, it started drying pretty quickly, so I'm just going ahead, since this is already kind of taking, and just kind of going right back over it real quick and smoothing that out. And you may have to kind of give me a heads up on time. I don't have a
You're about 30 minutes
watch
in.
on. Okay, good.
Almost exactly, actually.
Perfect. Okay. All right, so there's that. Then we've got a little bit. I'm gonna grab a little bit more of kind of that red and some brown. We'll just go ahead and use that same color we got going. That's too dark. We don't want that.
That's the little Pro Stroke round brush you're using, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because it's the easiest for getting in these really small little lines that I've created for myself. This looks...
And then as far as the medium goes, you haven't kneaded it yet, correct?
I've not used it because this is actually a pretty smooth flowing paint. I didn't know exactly whether I would or not, but it's always a good, like, I just always include it because it's something people should use, because everybody always wants to thin it down with water, you know? And I'm not adding any water with it. I'm only wetting the brush, just rinsing the brush and letting the water that's still in it, kind of blotting it out a little, just to make the brush, it's easy to clean the paint back out of because it's damp. So it doesn't go way up in the brush and get stuck and start drying. And B, it just adds enough fluid to make it a little smoother without wetting the paint film. Is everybody glad we're back in the land of focus?
Yes, except there have been multiple comments where people mishearing bird shrieks in the background.
Oh, they
miss
liked
April.
April. Well, April did something over the weekend that I had never seen. She got mad at the Harlequin Dane that's always in there, Chloe, and she flew down off my shoulder because Chloe was barking at her after yelling and swearing at Chloe. And she was on the floor, and I don't know if you've ever seen a cockatoo walk, but they walk pigeon-toed really bad, like a duck. And she was racing across the floor like this, at Chloe's pen and was going to try to bite her through the pen because she was so mad at her. She's never done that before, but she was like, she was talking and she was singing because Queen was on and that's her favorite. And she was singing to Bohemian Rhapsody and the dog was barking, just started barking because she was dancing. And she gets her whole head going and puts out her feathers and she was just like, you are not taking my music away from me, apparently. And I had to grab her, like pick her up literally to make sure. I was afraid that the dog would, if she got through that at any point, the dog was going to get her. And then, so I picked her up and so then she was just going, no, and scolding the dog.
Sibling rivalry.
Yes, but it was just like we were dying because we'd never seen her. Like she was just not having it.
You need to put one of those like Nest cams in there so you
Right.
can watch and see what they're doing all the time.
Right. Okay, so we've got this on here. We've got kind of some of the darker and the reds. We're going to do a kind of a lime green on the back and then kind of a darker green there. Now this Viridian is ultra dangerously strong, so we are going to just take a little poke of it. Ooh, that's pretty. Put this across the back for something super bright. Yeah, I only imagine what she did when I left because she's so used to me being in there all the time now that she's probably not going to be very happy. She actually played Zoom bingo the other day with some friends that live out of state. They sent everybody bingo cards and we played Zoom bingo and they had toilet paper for prizes that they were going to mail people. And she was telling everybody apparently her life story on the Zoom bingo. So, all right. So we've got that kind of lime green there.
Ready?
Now we're going to go with a little bit darker. Let's add some darker. Ooh, that's really nice. And just take a touch of the ultramarine too.
We did have somebody ask, you were talking about the medium you have there extends it, but is there something else that'll like basically explain what a retarder does to acrylics?
Okay, this is not a retarding medium, and if you've not worked in acrylics, I would really recommend that you don't start out with something with a retarding medium because retarding mediums are something that, a retarder is exactly that, something that's slow, right? So it's going to slow the drying time of your acrylic. And if you're already not used to what an acrylic dry time is, and then you're adding multiple amounts of a retarder, you can sometimes have, especially if you're in humid weather, like what we've got with all the rain we've had lately, acrylic is drying really slow in my studio, just regular acrylic. So adding a retarder could mean, especially if you're in a humid area, adding days onto your kind of dry time. And if that's something you're already not used to, you don't know how much to add. That's something you would want to test out. This just is an extender in that it's taking your paint and thinning it, all right, so it's not as concentrated, to extend it that way. These work especially great with heavier bodied acrylics because you need to kind of thin them out to make them more brushable so you don't have that brush kind of texture of brush stroke rather than thinning them down with a lot of water. For this type of a thing, it's great if you want to do like watery color washes underneath, you know, on your board first to really thin it, but not lose a lot of the strength of the acrylic itself. Or it's good for varnishing. It's not something that you have to have, but it's because it's a varnish and a medium, it's great because you've got a multi-purpose kind of tool in your arsenal. Again, if you are new to acrylics, don't mess with it's much easier to do a learning curve and learn how to work with acrylics drying faster than it is to then every time you use a retarder fight with it and have to deal with it. It's different if you are come from oil painting and you know that you want a longer open time, but still you are really going to need to do some tests for yourself to see kind of how long that paint film is going to stay wet before you really get into, you know, working, because it's just like using like stand oil in an oil painting. It can cause issues. You don't know how long that's going to be, that it's going to necessarily keep things wet for you to continue working in. And I was saying stand oil for oils, not acrylics. So don't, anybody that's an acrylic, same said. Stand oil. All right. So now we just need something darker on the bottom here. So we're going to take just some of the straight green, add some of the straight blue. And I'm going to add a little bit of black to get this really dark color on the bottom. Too much water in the brush. Is everybody gung-ho for the
Light blue.
For the lighter blue?
Yeah.
Good.
Julie was asking, is this a professional grade, or would this be considered professional grade or student grade?
For the LUKAS CRYL,
Uh-huh.
I think that the studio is the kind of artist's grade. It's I guess it's really actually it's just the texture difference, right? Mm-hmm. It's a professional grade, but it's more like if you've used either the Matisse Flow or the Liquitex Soft Body, it feels just like those do.
She's
So
asking about the pigmentation, so it would still be just as pigmented as the other. It's just a different.
It's just a different texture. Yes, yeah. It's a little bit more like Katie, like when we've used the liquid. Mm-hmm. It feels like that almost. It's not quite as that, but it's not like heavy like the pastos. It's kind of or heavy body. I mean, it doesn't want to go anywhere out of the thing, but it's not, when you put it in, it's not mounding really high like one that has those clear fillers in it. Okay, we're gonna wait for that to dry, and then we need to do another coat because that's still not quite dark enough. So I guess while we wait for that, we can go ahead and start doing the blue. We're gonna get this big brush and we're gonna put some more in here because we got more room to cover it, and then we can come back and that's got a really nice opacity. You can tell there's white in it, because phthalo blue is typically a transparent to a semi-transparent. That's got some
kick. That's got some pop.
Yeah, it does. Look how nice that's going to look against that yellow. Okay, the little bottom is going to get a little bit of paint on it, but that's just, that just says it's used.
If you have an easel that doesn't have paint on it, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, you're not working near enough. Yeah, see how this really loses the brush stroke? It's a much more fluid acrylic, which is nice. Now, if you're coming from oils where you're used to that heavier body of oils, you may want something that's a heavier bodied acrylic, because that's going to be what you're used to. If you're coming from watercolor, this is like the perfect transition acrylic, I think, because it's just got more body, but it's smooth enough where
it looks really smooth.
Yes, it's super smooth. Okay. Again, this is like right on the verge. Right on the verge of too close and not close enough. Okay. Ooh, those colors are bright. With that blue, look how electric this is coming around with
So
that.
pretty.
I'm gonna get close, but I don't want to get too close and get in it. Ah! Look, I just did. That's okay. It's right on the line where the black is gonna go anyway. That's why you wait and do your black last.
That fixes everything.
Yes, pop art is like one of those types of thing where you can clean up a lot of your mistakes. As long as you've got a steady hand to do the outline. Now, and that you can do like acrylic markers. There's lots of different brands of acrylic markers out there where you can get them in fine liners, and then you can use that for your okay. Are there any other questions while I'm just kind of... Is anybody playing along this time? Right now it's starting to get close again. I really just need to put in my contacts that have the bifocals for this stuff. That would make it easier. Just not good for driving. Now the great thing about these bubbles is you can do anything. You can do bright colors, you can do gray value colors, you can really play with color mixes or just use straight saturated color. You could just do 3 different colors and kind of space them out variably in the things. That's the beauty of something like this. It's completely open to whatever you want to do. Some of this I'm going to have to come back with that smaller brush. Some of this out of the side so it doesn't start sticking in the brush.
Julie said she normally uses golden, both the heavy body and the soft.
Mm-hmm.
So she was wondering how it would kind of compare to that, pigment wise and like pigment load wise and
Golden's heavy body, and then Liquitex is soft body?
no, they're
or?
softer. They're soft body when they have.
Okay.
So probably
How would this...
pigment load wise.
She's looking to save a few pennies.
I don't, it's been so long since I've used Golden because of that. Personally, honestly, I don't remember. Isn't that awful? It's just because it had gotten pricey enough where I could not even
I mean, you can see it's pretty
out of
highly
pocket.
pigmented. It just is very.
It's very.
Especially for how smooth it is, it's very highly pigmented. It could easily very much be.
I think that
streaky and flat.
so I think more what is different is okay. So Julie, what I think is the biggest difference is every manufacturer formulates specific colors differently, and I don't think that there's any really true the pigmentation's the issue. It's that the way that different people formulate stuff is very different because they don't have. You can only go by a formula of this brand uses this pigment. It might be a little lighter, it might be a little darker, it might be a little bluer looking, it might be a little redder looking, depending on the brand because of how the pigment may be heated that they are purchasing versus a different brand. So it's more the resin that's the difference and kind of how that place interprets a specific color. Because, which I know it sounds so weird, but okay, so I'm testing a couple different brands against Turner acrylic that we're wanting to have formulated to bring in. And it's amazing how there can be very slight nuances between brands on even earth tones. And then when you're taking that and adding a little bit of white to it, even with earth tones, one might be a little greener looking, one might be a little pinker looking from the exact same color, where in mass tone they look identical. So that's more, it's finding the color interpretations of what kind of, as I just botched up balloon, of kind of what you like best and sticking with those. I think anymore, especially, I think acrylics are more the kind of great equalizer than something like oils, because drying oils can make colors appear very differently because of how they refract light and how they dry and things like that. I think that acrylics, that resins are so similar anymore, that's not as big of a deal to me, especially over the last like even 10 years. Quality has really gotten better, even in student grade paints. So just the plastics resin industry and stuff is always growing and changing, and so it's, I mean, blues can be a tricky thing, and this is actually pretty. I can see where I've thinned it a little bit. I can see where I might need to go back and add just a touch in some areas where I made it really thin, but it's pretty darn pigmented and super bright. My favorite thing about LUKAS colors are their yellows. They can make some really, really gorgeous yellows, and they get ultramarine right where it's that nice kind of reddish purpley color that just some brands cannot. In acrylic, it's like that just doesn't look like ultramarine, So, all right, I feel like I'm running out of, I'm getting a little too close with this big brush now.
I was just mentioning that. I said I'm impressed that you can go around those smaller bubbles without going to a smaller brush.
Oh, I'm cutting into some of them. I'm going to have to round them back out when I use the smaller brush, but that's why I put a filbert in this set, because filbert, since they're rounded, can actually cut a clean edge on edge around pretty reasonably small things. So it wasn't an accident that this ended up being a filbert. It was by design, because it's a brush that's a really good kind of workhorse for covering larger areas, but then being able to kind of cut in and give a little bit of detail. Frankly, I don't know why flats and brights are as popular, because this just can do, it just can't do what a round does, with where you get those like little tiny detail spots.
The question, why didn't you paint the background first? Was there reasoning behind that, or you just go with it?
It's the boring part. And I didn't want to lose anybody on like the, oh my God, that's taking forever. It's just the same color, right? So method to the madness with that. And I don't know, probably just more that. It is the boring part. Backgrounds, I'm a little like instant gratification, and backgrounds are kind of that boring drive to your grandmother's house, not the, you know what I'm saying? Not the fun race to the store. You know you're going to be in the car for a while, so you're like, oh my God, just want to get there. Okay, I think we're going to switch to the other brush because we're getting a little too close. A few of these places.
We've got about 5-10 minutes left.
Okay. Should I just start putting in some color bubbles
Yes, everybody was
first?
asking what color you were going to be using.
I don't know. That's a good question. Why doesn't everybody think about it for a minute? And I'll start cutting in a little bit of this. I was going to make this the ultramarine, that dark blue. Let's do that real quick while we're waiting for... Actually, this would be easier to have gone to the other filbert to drag this along. You can get a better edge with a filbert for something long. It holds a little bit more paint. Now, if you didn't see our other shows with the pear, everything is on Facebook, right? Because the one that was in the black and white was only on Facebook. So they would have to look back because that was either a Sunday or a Thursday episode. I think it was one of our Thursday ones that we did. But the soft pastel pear is was put up on YouTube. And what I did, because everybody really liked that pastel episode so much, Katie, and so many people actually bought the set, which that set was like, what, under $25? It was super duper cheap, that we did this fun pastel with. And it comes with 12 sheets of different colored paper. And we talked about why it's important to consider different colors of paper. And I actually got a lot of really cool private messages from people that were like, I never thought about that. And some people tried different colors just to see what it would be different because they'd see ours and see theirs. But we're going to do another show with that.
Oh, cool.
With that same set. So anybody that already invested in the set will be able to do a second project with us. And for the people that didn't the first time, that like ended up liking it and just didn't get the set, they'll be able to play along as well. And it's not next week, it's the week after. So they would have time to get in an order now. For the, you may need to give them what the, I guess it would be JL 153. Make sure that that's correct on that document. I think the show was JL 146 that had the set with everything. I just picked up some of the blue. I'm just going around the pear real quick.
JL 146 was the one with the set in it.
So that would be how they could go back and look at that cart with the set, and be able to.
The cart is under $15 right now.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, so you can have like a real pastel class for under $15. And have the last one, because we'll do a different subject matter. Maybe we'll try like, we did the pear because it's something where it's a simple thing. That's pretty plain, obviously. So it doesn't feel like overwhelming or anything. We might try a really simple landscape or something. I'll find something that's super simple where it doesn't take a lot of drawing skills to do it or any of that, and I'll have that ready, and then people can pick their paper and all that. I'll make sure it's something that all those colors will go really nicely with. Just so it's an additional way of kind of having another class with it, because it's a really cute little pastel set, and I mean it lasted through multiple shows, and it gives you enough to do 12 works, so figured why not. Plus, just that we were doing it from home and that it wasn't here, they'll be able to learn in 4K. It won't be kind of zooming in and out like I know we had issues with using the iPhone, right? So I'm just going in here while I'm thinking about what we're gonna, how much more time do we have? Do we have time to do a couple of the...
We're right at an hour right now, so.
Okay, well, we're gonna do a couple of them anyway. I won't finish the around things, so we can put in, finished around a couple of them, so we'll do colors on those so we can kind of see, and then I'll finish it and do the outline and then put it in the group. I've got that colored pencil one that I've worked on, so I'll try to get those in the group within the next week. All right, so we've got the fun dots. Obviously we've done around these. We still need to, that needs one more coat because ultramarine is very normal, is a transparent color, so we'll need to darken that back up. I'll need to continue to finish around those, but now we need to kind of decide what we want to do for colors, and this magenta is like the perfect already there pre-done color, so I say we do one of these, that, because that's going to be really cute on the blue. And again, not thinning this down, because the nature of kind of the primary magenta usually is that it is not going to be an opaque color. Now I'll show you in just a minute what we could do with it to make it a really cute pink. Just kind of going back over that, giving it another sweep of color. All right, take some of that. Okay, so now we've got a little very soft pink here.
How fast drying are these? Were you started still wet, or are they?
Oh no, that's been dry.
Oh, so pretty quickly. You can
These
go back
dry,
over.
that's the nice thing about a thinner body acrylic, is it's going to dry much faster because it doesn't have to dry through those solids. Hold on.
You're fine.
Yellow, dry. Blue, where I've just painted recently,
Pretty dry.
that's dry to the touch. In here, I can see a little bit of a sheen difference, so I know that part's not dry. But I mean, that's how quickly this is drying.
That's quick.
Which a lot of people are like, but then I can't blend. Now you can immediately paint over if you mess something up.
Yep.
That is the beauty of acrylics that acrylic has over oils. That's like brush drop. Look at this, because you can just pretty much immediately paint back over, and that's why a softer body can be a really awesome thing, just because of that fact in and of itself. I feel like we didn't use the yellow ochre. We don't want a yellow ochre, that'll be icky. All right, let's do one of these, just the straight red. Okay, violet, the ultramarine, and the... Ooh, that makes like a nice little lavender color, but that's probably going to be really similar. That's a really, well, but you know what? That's kind of cool in of itself. It's going to be a very similar gray value. Let's put it up here. It's kind of like a periwinkle color. It's a little redder than a periwinkle. Go ahead and tell people to go get your last questions in, because I know it's about that time. And the girls are being kind enough to do this from home remotely, so we don't want to keep them all night, but...
Don't forget, you gotta announce the winners too.
Oh, yes. Okay. So was this the last week of the contest, or is there another
There's
week?
one more.
Okay.
Oh wait, no. There's two more.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
in a time warp and quarantine. I don't know what's going on. There's two more. Next week will be, actually we'll pop that in there for them. Next week is going to be, it's send a little piece of your heart, but it's, everybody's kind of bored and missing everybody at this point in time, so the challenge is to make watercolor postcards, or any kind of postcards, honestly.
Yay.
And send a little piece of fun art to
Nice.
somebody you love.
Okay.
Brighten up their mailbox.
Okay. So that's perfect. So next week, so what, Monday at midnight? Next Monday at midnight.
Yep.
You need to have it in. It's postcards to friends, family, whomever. Something bright and cheerful to brighten up their
Send
day.
a smile through the mail.
I love it. Okay. So hopefully this has helped. I will post pictures of this when it's all done. All done. Pop art. Happy, cheerful, yaya. The winners. We had, what, 501 entries?
Over 500.
Who knew? So 501 entries, guys. That was awesome. And we've got winners. I'll move this up here so I don't get myself all painting. All right. I guess I need to let that dry because I got to take it home. All right. So third place. Do we want to do these as an overhead?
I can.
Okay. So I'm going to do it this way. Let me take this and put this down here. Perfect. Third place, I loved the geometry of this piece. These are actually little triangles and stuff. This is just beautiful. And it's Dottie de Aquisto Graham from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. $100 e-gift card for her third place painting of flowers. And there were obviously 3 in from her because they were all really gorgeous. And they remind me of stained glass. So this is beautiful work. And I love the composition. And it's very happy floral. Barbara, I'm spitballing here, Shunick from Chapin, South Carolina. Barbara, if I've butchered your name, sorry, but you know what? For a $250 e-gift card, you probably don't mind. I'm just saying. Beautiful work. I love this. And I don't know what medium. I wish people put what medium it was, because this is just, it reminds me of something like in colored pencil where when you use solvent, just because of just how the color is. I'm guessing that's what it is. Maybe not. Maybe it's acrylic, but it's beautiful. Beautiful work. And then this is our last one. You'll have to excuse our printer. This is Sharon Kuhn from Altoona, Pennsylvania. And again, I may have butchered Sharon's name. But for a $500 e-gift card to Jerry's, I think she's probably fine with that. Congratulations, guys. These are beautiful. There were so many gorgeous ones to pick from. It was very difficult. And kudos to everybody for entering. There was just, it was very cheerful and springy.
It was.
That was like the one that I liked looking through the most so far. It was just like, wow, look at this is spring cheer. So you guys hit the nail on the head with the entries for the April showers, May flowers, happiness. So let's see if we can do that and make it even better next week for the postcards, because I think that will be so much fun. So that's the contest for next week. Good luck, guys. And it'll be those same prizes too, the $500, $250, and $100 e-gift cards. So, and enter away. Next week, I believe next week is the Charvin water-soluble pastels. So we're going to do what?
You need me to check that?
Probably better, but I'm pretty sure it is. So it is. Okay. So I put together a little kit. It's something that's portable. It's even got a bag, so it's easy to carry with you. But it gives you the ability to either work in a hard pastel or to be able to work with water with it. There's brushes and everything included. So if you want to look at those supplies for next week and even get them ahead of time, if you want to join in, that is JL 152. So you can find those products for that. And that's what we're doing next week. So tune in. Take care of yourselves, preventative health, and make sure that you stay creative. Keep your spirits up, keep yourself going, and enjoy. Take care. We'll see you next week.